thank you guys for attending the CSOHIMSS Lunch and Learn Webinar series for September 14th. As I said before, handouts are available. If you have the CPHIMSS or CAHIMSS certification, you will get CEUs for attending today's webinar. Just make sure you download that form. After the webinar is closed out, I will be posting both the handouts and a recording of the webinar to the CSOHIMSS YouTube channel and to the CSOHIMSS website. If you go to the CSOHIMSS website under Events and Education, you'll see a section called Past Events where the handouts will be posted. We've got the handouts posted there from everything we've ever done. If you would like to get in touch with CSOHIMSS, our website is csohio.himsschapter.org. You can email us at csohimss.president@himsschapter.org. That will go to our current president, Mr. Jeff Haas. Oh, by the way, my name is Scott Mash. I'm the past president, and I also serve as the HIE liaison for CSOHIMSS. Probably should have said that before. Apologize. Also, if you email csohio.info@himsschapter.org, that'll go to a large portion of our board members, and we're always quick to respond. We are active on social media. Check us out on Facebook or Twitter at CSOHIMSS. We have a LinkedIn group set up. The easiest way to find that group is pull up LinkedIn, search for CSOHIMSS. If you're not a member of the group, just click join the group. We will quickly go in and accept it, but we do try to post some information to our social media sites from time to time. We do share a lot of information about our upcoming events. We appreciate our sponsors for our chapter, because without our sponsors, we could not provide our fall and spring conference, our OHIT Day event, or even these monthly webinar series. I want to thank our premier level sponsors, which are Cover My Meds and Malwarebytes, Signet Excel, EHR Integration Services, who's also serving as our presenter today. Our elite sponsors are Metasource, ProLink Staffing, Tech Systems, Obix Perinatal Data Systems, Data Gravity, Redspin, DMI, Time Warner Business Class, NTT Data, Excite Health Partners, Leidos, and Winthrop. Finally, our last elite level sponsors are Centricom, ServiceNow, and Direct Consulting Associates. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you to our sponsors. Please support our sponsors. When you interact with the sponsors, say, hey, we heard about you through CSOHIMSS. Really appreciate you supporting that organization. We do have some upcoming events that I'd like to share information about. The big event coming up is our fall conference, which we're calling Holy Macra. It's Interoperate 2016. This is going to take place Friday, October 28th, down at the Kingsgate Marriott Conference Center, right next to the University of Cincinnati. This one we're kind of calling our Taste of Healthcare, because we are going to talk about macro. We're going to talk a little bit about some other payment reform models that are coming out. We're also going to have breakouts that cover revenue cycle, project management, interoperability, information security. So we're really just trying to cover a whole breadth of topics rather than just focusing in on one central theme. Registration is open now. Please register today. The easiest way to find this link is to go to Eventbrite and search for CSOHIMSS, or go to the CSOHIMSS website and you'll find a link there as well. Don't forget the big HIMSS 17 conference is coming up down in sunny Orlando, Florida. That will be in February, starting on the 19th. Register now, because this one fills up fast. If you haven't gotten a hotel, you might need to pack a tent. We will be having a luncheon at HIMSS 17. We don't have the date tied down yet. Pre-registration will be required for this event. As soon as we get the date locked down and we get some of the other details, we'll let everyone know. But we will be doing a luncheon, so keep a few lunch dates free. Another big event we got coming up is the 10th annual OHIT Day event. This will be Wednesday, April 5th at the Ohio State House. This is a free event where our goal is to educate the legislature about a specific topic. We're working on identifying that topic now. What we do is we will have a group that will come in, we'll do some presentations, we'll prepare you to meet with your legislature, we'll provide you with some leave behinds. We actually even set those meetings up for you. So all you got to do is show up, It's a great time to meet some others in the field of HIT, and also just to make sure that our legislature is representing the HIT community. Spring conference is going to be Friday, May 12th. Don't know what our theme is going to be yet, but it will be at the OCLC here in Dublin, Ohio. We have some other Lunch and Learn webinars on the schedule. Next one will be October 12th. Now, we did change speakers. Originally, we had someone from Signet Excel on the schedule. Unfortunately, they had a conflict, but we did have somebody step up that's going to provide a presentation on MACRA. This will be Freeman Scott from MMY Consulting. Registration link is available here at the bottom. You can also go to the CSOHIMSS website and look under the events section. In November, Malwarebytes will be providing a presentation on the hidden enemy, malvertising, and ransomware, which is a timely topic because we've heard some horror stories about ransomware in the healthcare sector, so this would be a good one to attend. December, we've got how can we enhance our end users experience, and this will be John Flamand from Lockridge. Now, I am working on speakers for next calendar year. I've got a few folks lined up, don't have them dialed in just yet, but we love presentations to come from our membership, from others in the HIT community. If you have a topic that you would love to share, maybe you've got a project that went well, you've done this implementation, you've done something innovative, and you just want to share, this is a great opportunity. Also, if you're pursuing membership advancement within the HIMSS, you get presentation points. So if you want to become a senior member or a fellow of HIMSS, you have to have so many presentation points to qualify for that. And I can tell you, I myself am a fellow of HIMSS. I've done a bunch of presentations around the state. It takes a lot of points. So, again, if you're interested, you have a message to share, please contact me. Contact anybody at CSOHIMSS and we'll get you on the schedule. With that, I am going to turn it over to Mr. Jamie Steck as soon as I find him here. Unmute him. I'm going to make him the presenter. Now, just a reminder that Ms. Dottie Howe will be handling the Q&A for today. I'm going to I'm actually going to go on mute. Jamie, you there?
I'm here, Scott.
All right. We can see your screen. So we're going to go on mute. And Jamie, first I want to thank you so much for serving as our speaker today. Very much appreciated. I believe this is a very timely topic because I know I personally am working with a lot of organizations across the state that are preparing to move to another vendor or that have acquired practices that have a current EHR, and they've got to, figure out what to do with this data. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Scott, and I do appreciate CSOHIMSS and your willingness to let us come on and talk to your group. It's great to be a sponsor of your group and know the great things that are coming out of there. So, and you're right, it is a topic that a lot of people are willing and needing to talk about. We're finding in our own experience that there's a lot of groups out there who are now migrating to maybe even a second or even a third EMR system, and they've got to have something to do with that data, or they've been acquired by a larger group. So that's what we're going to talk today about, how we have come across some of the best practices that we've seen in converting that information and potentially storing that information. So a little bit about me. I am an accountant by trade. I went to school to be an accountant. It happened to be that my hobby of IT turned into my job, and have been doing that for about 18 years now and have loved every bit of that. I don't know how I got into accounting. That's something I enjoyed to do, but I must tell you I really enjoy what I do now, and being in that current role of healthcare and IT. I do have my MBA. I did spend 14 years as the IT director of Revere Health, or what was Central Utah Clinic here in Utah, and I've been working for EHR Integration Services now for about 4 years. Let me go through our learning objectives today, and we'll talk a little bit about what four things that I think would be key to pull out of this presentation. My goal today is really to just give you information on what's available. You know what, I think the underlying thing here are doctors who have worked hard to capture this data, and they want to keep it, and it's our challenge to help them keep it and do something with it if they decide to move or have been acquired by another practice. Our patients, we as patients, we also demand that they keep it. We don't want to re-enter this information. We want them to know all of the things about us so that we can get the best care. And the government also has a say in this in saying that, yes, you should keep it. HIPAA says that we need to keep that information. You know, in most cases, in most states, it's, as age 21 plus 10. So, everybody has a stake in this data that's been captured. And if you're moving EMRs or going to a different system or being acquired that's on a different system than you are, we need to find out what we can do and how we can make that information the best. So we want to learn the best practices of how to convert that information from existing EHR to a new environment. There are ways that we are learning how to store the data and make it available inside your current or existing EHR. Are there ways that we can not go through the pain and heartache of a discrete conversion, but yet put it somewhere and make it available inside the current EHR? Or that also too is an advantage, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. How can we take advantage of taking the existing information from your EHR and using some of the leading edge technology that exists today and move that directly to the new EHR without a conversion in itself? Those things are available, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We'll also talk a little bit about, in that conversion process, life must go on and things must continue to happen. So how do we count for the continuity of care strategies before, during, and even after the conversion? How are we keeping that patient information current if we're straddling two different systems at this point? How do you make sure that you have every bit of information on those patients? If information is in one system and is being moved to another, we got to account for that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to talk a little bit, just really briefly, about our company. Craig Lewis was the founder of this. He's worked many years in that IT space and went out on his own in 2006 and created currently EHR Integration services. We have 20 consultants on staff, but with our Perfect Practice Alliance that we formed last year, we have over 50 consultants and in that strategic partnership that we have created. And so we have a very large breadth of experience and knowledge, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Perfect Practice Alliance was to help us grow our own offering to account for more of that healthcare continuum that exists from the front desk through the check-in and through the clinical space and even on the back end of the healthcare and IT side. So we wanted to expand that breadth that we offered. That's why the Perfect Practice Alliance was formed. And we are truly a growing company that understands medical data. Medical data and moving that data is really what we do. It accounts for about 60% of our total business. And we've done a lot of conversions in that time and in that space. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But that's about who we are. The continuum, as we talked about, is from that front desk to the clinical practice and workflow, back office productivity, and healthcare information technology. This is that continuum from start to finish of where the patient is coming through and every place that that patient is being touched. Today, though, we are going to talk a little bit about the item here on the fourth end, or in the fourth one here, about the health information technology side, specifically about the EHR archive application and extraction and conversion services. So let's talk a little bit today about best practices, what types of conversions there are, what one might be best for you. Certainly, I would suspect that we've all been through some kind of a conversion. If not, it's probably coming and will be most likely. My clinic that I worked at for many years, when I started, we were at 29 providers. And when I left, we were at 250, mostly due to acquisitions of groups in the Utah space. And we had to bring on their EMRs. And most of them was in that discrete type of conversion. We wanted that information to be in our current EMR, and so we had to go through many conversions. Discrete is hard, it's painful, it's time consuming. There's a lot of confusion potentially. I remember one conversion we brought on a group who had been on eClinicalWorks for 10 plus years, and we were trying to convert that into our EMR. And the mapping exercise and the conversion of that data did not honestly go well. It just did not go well at all, in so much that 2 months after the conversion went live, we had to put them back on eClinicalWorks because they just could not find the information. That's an example of one that did not go well. But we did work through that. We did make it sure that they could see what they needed to. But discrete conversions are hard and difficult. Doctors, like we said, have worked hard for that data, but they are very time consuming. But you do get the benefits of having all of the information there. A lot of times we're asked to complete what we call like a hybrid conversion, meaning that we'll take bits and pieces of the clinical information or some of that discrete information and bring that over to the new EMR. But then we'll also create a summary document where we combine different things. Maybe we'll combine the last 2 visit notes, or we're combining different pieces of information from the chart, and we'll put that into a specific note and bring that over to the new EMR. There's a lot of variability there, a lot of benefit in the fact that you don't have all of that mapping, or you're not renaming those items. So there are some benefits in that methodology as well. A combined, where you take bits and pieces of both, where maybe they want to do both. Maybe they want a full discrete conversion and maybe a complete note or scanned image conversion. There's a lot of options there, and how that combined option comes into play. So what method is right for you? Well, it really depends on how, what you want to do with the data. There's a lot of factors. What system are you going into? Is this just a new EMR that you want to have, or are you being acquired? And all of that data has to be there. So there's a lot of variability here, but we're going to give you some ideas of what that is. But let's talk about the next topic there, where we're saying let's store the data. We like to call it a static copy of the data. And there's some benefits for doing that. What if you could take out the information in that legacy EMR and just store it and put it into a system that would be able to view it and have it readily available? What are the benefits? What are some of the things that might create an advantage for doing something like that? It's the same nomenclature. In my earlier example, a tool like this would have been extremely helpful and allowed us not to fail in that conversion that we had because of the mapping that had occurred and the differences in that nomenclature. That was a problem. We found that this would be a simple conversion where we're just extracting the data, and there's really not a huge transformation or a load process. There is some transformation, but we're not loading that into the new EMR. We're putting it into a static copy where it could be cost effective. Certainly timelines are reduced when you don't have to go through that large lift of transformation and the load process. I use this word pollute, the new EHR. If you are a clinic that had 10, 12, 15 years on an EMR, you could have millions of scanned documents, or terabytes of image files that are needing to go somewhere. Well, what do you do with them? Do you want to put all of those into the new EHR? What if you could find a way to put them into a storage solution where they could still be available and tied to the patient, but it's not polluting the new EMR. That's, again, something to consider about. One thing that we did is it allows for the decommission of those legacy systems, and not only the decommission of the server, but the recapture of the license. I mean, if you have kept open your old EMR, your legacy EMR for a couple of years for read-only purposes, you probably you're paying for the upkeep of those servers, and you're paying for the licenses that you needed to see that information. Get rid of that cost, recapture that cost. We did this for one group, a very large university setting, and they were acquiring groups at the rate of about 3 or 4 a month, and they had kept their original legacy EMR up for a couple of years and were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in server and licensing costs. And once we introduced them to that option, again, that money was then saved. The nice thing about a static copy is you could have multiple systems in there. What if you had multiple sources of legacy systems and you were being acquired, or the acquirer says, hey, all of these 3 or 4 different companies are coming on. We need to have a place to store all of those. Could a solution like that handle multiple systems? And the nice thing about it, and one thing that I've learned, and you probably all know, is our providers want one place to see all of the data. They don't want to log into different locations. They don't want to be able to, oh, I need to go here to see this, or go to a different place to see that information. What if you could integrate this static copy inside of the new EHR as you were browsing a particular patient? You could click out to this system using the system functionality and see this information for that patient that you had in context. What a great benefit that might be. So again, options to store the data. We are seeing this as becoming a more increasing option and something that the providers really want to look at. Takes us to our third item here, usable data in the new EHR. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we're seeing some. It's been a long time, and if you've been in the healthcare industry for any period of time, you know that any EHR, that we all have tried to create standards, and that each system says, well, here's our standard CCD, or here's our standard information set. We're finally starting to see that some of that is really meshing together, that we are getting to that point where standards are talking to each other and you can bring that information in. So instead of any kind of a conversion, what if you could bring that clinical data in through a direct import into the new EHR? That's happening. We still have to account for clinical notes and stuff, and some of that is, not quite there yet. But that clinical data is important and can be captured. So we're seeing a movement in this space as well, where that information, can be directly transferred from one vendor to another. As a part of that, what we are seeing is that, I mentioned earlier, what do we do with the other information, like the clinical notes or the scanned images or those other documents, radiology reports, or other information that might be in there? What do we do with that? We can't just leave it behind. So, technology is coming to a point where you could create use your EHR as a mini HIE. What if you could create a functionality inside your existing EHR that would look out to the old system and be able to see that and bring and allow you to see that information for a given patient and allow you to import that at any given time. So as you look out at these multiple EMRs that you might have in your environment, could you create software that would allow you to see that and bring it in on a just-in-time basis and into your existing EMR? Again, this is leading-edge technology and functionality. It's not, we don't see a lot of it, but we are seeing more and more of it where groups are saying, this is how I want to deal with it, or this is what we want to do. So that is a possibility as well. So we talk about that. One thing that is a concern is, we've seen this many times here in our company, where we've helped big enterprise-wide university settings or huge healthcare networks move from one EMR to another. And the time for those conversions could take, a myriad of time, many years in some cases, where you just are straddling between two EMR systems. You have multiple sites or multiple groups that are trying to move from one system to another. And it creates two teams. Your team is now split from the new EHR team and the legacy support system team. So, all of a sudden you had all of these people helping and assisting with the maintenance and functionality of your existing EMR system, but now that team is split, and so they don't have time. One's got to work on the new one, one's got to work on the old one and support it until you can get to the new one. So what do you do in the interim? If you have groups that you're moving from system A to system B, and you're right in the middle, and it's your turn to move now, you might have some patients in the old system or in system A, and some of your patients might be in system B, or maybe your colleague down the street is already on system B, and they're seeing your patient as well for some other specialty or some other problem that they might be having. Then what do you do? Because you got to say, well, I need all of this information. I can't just be making decisions on this patient, and not see all of the information. We're starting to see now, and we're recommending options to say what we call our continuity of care strategies. Being able to have a single repository for that critical information for patients, regardless of the source that it's coming from. A lot of the population health management systems in today's world do this, or can do this, where they're taking information from multiple EMRs, and there's a fewer number that can handle that in that space. Some are linked to specific EMRs, but there's a few that are linked and can be linked to multiple EMRs or data sources. And what we're seeing is that, and is a great solution, is to combat this problem, is to load all of the information and to keep it current and fresh regardless of the source into these population health systems, where with a quick view and a quick insight you can see what's going on, whether it's system A, B, C, or D, and if your colleague's down the street or not. So as you go through that effort and that problem of switching EMRs from one system to another, it gives you a place to view that and quickly see that, so that you as a provider, or you supporting your providers, can make a great decision about the health care of that patient, and they not have to guess. So this is something also that we're seeing is new to the scene, and certainly creates an alternative for those groups that are really struggling and might take many years to make that effort come to fruition. So just a couple of parting thoughts here as we talk about it. Again, really my goal in today's demonstration or discussion really is not about selling my wares or my services, but it's just about the years of experience that we've had and I've had personally about what are those options that you have. It's not just, try and fit the proverbial square peg in the round hole. You do have some options. Things are becoming better in today's marketplace. We do have that ability to make and do those discrete conversions like we've talked about, where they can be done, and you take every bit of data and put it in. I've seen some groups take that information and they'll hand enter that information and sit people in front of a computer screen and try and hand enter that information. We're too good for that. We're better than that. We've come way too far. I know healthcare, in my opinion, has always been lagging in an industry that's maybe behind banking, if you will. We demand that type of thing. We may never set foot into our credit union or our bank again because we have that access that we need to take care of that. And healthcare is that same way. It's becoming that same way between patient portals and the EMR system growth and the ability to handle various issues and problems. We can move this data, and it is working. Discrete conversions do work. Hybrid conversions do work. But there are some of those, again, leading edge things where you can store the data. Don't go through all of those exercises of mapping and changing the names. Leave it the same that they've remembered in that legacy system for 10 years or however long they were on it. Allow them to function as providers to take care of the patients. Make it as easy as possible for them. Convert the data directly from one EHR to another. That's a valid approach now. And create those mini HIEs and using your EMR system to pull in multiple aspects of the data from regardless of the source. We have, just a quick example, we have one group that we're supporting that's linking 17 different HIE sources into one EMR. And there's a very elaborate EMPI solution on the back end. There would have to be in order to support a care facility of that size. But imagine the power that that brings in caring for patients across that enterprise system when you're bringing in information and the value that the HIEs bring as well, but you're bringing it all into one EMR. Then lastly, the continuity of care. If you're bridging that or you're looking at population health and you're trying to get into that space, but you're also converting from one system to another, use that functionality, use that tool to also help you bridge that gap in the conversion process. So Scott, that's kind of what I have. I know I'm probably just a little short on time, but I'm hoping there's some questions here that I'd be glad to answer, and we can have a discussion around things that we've seen.
So Jamie, this is Dottie. Scott's at his other point.
That's right. Sorry about that, Dottie.
That's okay, Jamie. I'm the communications director at the Clinisync Health Information Exchange, and I'm really looking for some questions. I can only see one right now, Jamie, that's asking, how can I view this again with our team? Can I access the recording? And of course, the answer to that is that Scott will definitely be publishing both the slides and the recording itself onto the CSOHIMSS website.
That's correct, and like I said, he mentioned that at the beginning, but look for it on the website and the YouTube channel, as he mentioned. I think it's in the handouts there as well, but certainly look for that, or again, my contact information is on the screen. Would be glad to talk to anybody at any time about possibilities or strategies for conversions.
Does anybody have any more questions? Please feel free to type them in. If not, Jamie, I think we're giving them back some time in their day.
That's always a helpful thing, isn't it? We've got a lot to do.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for the offer, and again, I hope you found it helpful, and again, appreciate the time, Dottie. So thanks to you and your group.
Thanks so much.